okay my map.
Shit.
You feel okay my map?
Yeah.
I forgot my script. You're on, Noah.
Hi class, today I'll be talking about Relay for Life. I'll get into what it is, like when it started, and what typically goes on during the events. So 39.6% of men and women in the United States will be diagnosed with cancer at some point in their lives. That's 127.3 million Americans. And statistically speaking, that's 9 people in this classroom. And this is based on research done by the National Cancer Institute, published in 2012. So what is cancer? According to an article titled What is Cancer, published in 2015 by the National Cancer Institute, it's an umbrella term given to a group of a bunch of related diseases. There are lots of different types of cancer, but they all include normal cells dividing uncontrollably and eventually becoming invasive. So what is Relay for Life? Relay for Life is an annual fundraiser hosted by the American Cancer Society, and it's in over 5,200 communities across 27 countries. The events typically last between 6 and 24 hours, although most of them lean towards the 24-hour mark. Let's get into some of the history behind Relay for Life. So in May of 1985, Dr. Gordon Klatt partnered with the American Cancer Society, and he walked the track of the University of Puget Sound in Tacoma, Washington. And he walked and ran for 24 hours straight, accumulating over 83.6 miles in that time, and raising $27,000 in the process. The following year was the first Relay for Life, and that was May of 1986. And this was included 19 teams, and they raised over $33,000, and this was at the Stadium Bowl in Tacoma, Washington. Relay has grown and expanded every year since, with more events and more money being raised. Unfortunately, Klatt died in 2014 due to heart failure after fighting stomach cancer. Although he passed, he does live on because his idea sparked a global fundraising event that has raised almost $5 billion since its start. In the article, Chain Cancer Conversation, published in 2015, Colin Maselman says, "Awareness focuses on tests and treatments, rather than on cause and prevention." And what he means is that it's not enough just to raise awareness and to get people knowing about what it is that you want to get across. But it's also important to raise enough money for the research, because without money, we're not going to be able to find treatments and help those people that are in need. And Relay for Life is great because it not only raises awareness, but it also raises money for research. So what typically happens at a Relay for Life event? It starts off with an opening ceremony and a survivor lap, and that's where any cancer survivors that are there at the event, they go and walk the first lap together. And then the second lap is the caregiver lap, and that's for anyone who's ever cared for someone who's had cancer, whether it be a grandparent or a parent or a friend or a loved one, then they're able to go and take the second lap together. After that, the track opens up to the rest of the teams that are there, and the event Relay for Life begins. So during the event, there are lots of games and activities hosted by the Relay for Life organizers, and that includes soccer, frisbee, and football games that just happen to start up in the middle of the field. There are also events such as Mr. Relay, as you see the picture all the way on the left. That was one of the things that we did on Saturday, this past Saturday, which Relay for Life was hosted over on Mont Lawn. And so what that was, it was just like a little game where we pick members from the teams to dress up as the opposite gender and use toilet paper for the costumes. And it was just kind of like a beauty pageant and a talent show just for fun. And then they also had a movie night. We watched Moana at like 10 o'clock or something like that. And so then after all the fun and games and everything throughout the day, and we ended with a closing ceremony, and that's when people really, people, either cancer survivors or people that have been touched by cancer, they go up and they tell their story about how cancer has affected them, or how it's affected the people that they love. After that, we do what's called a Luminaria ceremony, where people light candles in turns remembering the people that they've lost, and everyone takes a final lap together. And it's really symbolic, and it shows that the togetherness that we have as a community and how we're all fighting for one cause. So what are some of the effects of Relay for Life? It will eventually increase the number of cancer survivors. So based on a Surveillance and Health Services research booklet published in 2016 by the American Cancer Society, there are currently 15.5 million cancer survivors in the United States. This number is projected to be 20.3 million by the year 2026. Relay for Life also brings us a greater awareness of what cancer is and what we can do to fight it. It also brings in more money for research and treatment to help those that are in need. And lastly, Relay for Life brings people together because we're all fighting for a common goal, and that's to eventually end cancer. Thank you.